Howdy, gang, and welcome to the second episode of Kubrick Among Us. Um, I apologize that I had planned to start this at 8 o'clock originally. However, I really wanted to be able to focus on the two movies that I was going to cover tonight, The Killing and Paths of Glory. And so, in order to give me enough time to fully focus on both of those movies and be able to fully finish them, I pushed this to 8:45. I hope nobody minds. In fact, maybe it'll give other people an opportunity that would have gotten an opportunity to join me for this at 8 o'clock. You know, you had 45 extra minutes, but also I hope that it did not upset people that, hey, where is Dana at? She's not starting at 8 o'clock like she originally said she was. So, I hope it works out for everybody in the end. It looks like we've got two people in here. One must be my dear husband because I see he's in here. Thank you, Steve, for showing up for this, at least for a little bit. Steve is working the late shift. Bless his heart. I feel for him. Here I've been complaining about having to work from 1 to 7 tomorrow. Steve won't be getting off till around what, one-ish, Steve, or something like that. So he's going to have to do that for a few weeks now, unfortunately. But he's doing it. He's going in there, and this is his first day of that shift. 1:30 a.m. He says. So be 3 weeks of that mess. So be thinking about him as he navigates through this very extremely late shift. Um, but like I said, we're going to be covering The Killing and Passive Glory. I'm really going to have a lot to say about Passive Glory. I was amazed by that film, but I'm going to get to that here in a second. Um, just a reminder that tomorrow there will be no Friday Foolish. I'm not sure just yet if me and Candace are going to be doing like a Sunday Silly or something like that, or if we will just be waiting until next Friday to be able to do Friday Foolish. We can't do Friday Foolish at 1 because that's when I'm starting work tomorrow, unfortunately. And my shift will run from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So, sorry, guys and gals, that's going to knock out Friday Foolish. However, the next Friday Foolish we do may very well be another horror comedy episode like last night for Apples and Oranges, where me and Chris were talking about some of our favorite horror comedy films. Um, I'm planning on having a couple of watch alongs this weekend if all goes well. Um, Saturdays will more than likely be phenomenal. I'm not sure about the second one. I'll have to get back to you guys and gals on that, or just keep watching the site, or the channel, Dead Ice on Deck, to check out and see if I've got that movie, Phenomenal, plus another movie up. Um, Sorry if I seem a little here, there, and everywhere. I'm just a little tired. And unfortunately, I was trying to doze off during The Killing, not because the movie was boring or anything, but just because that happens to me quite often now. It seemed like, I mean, I've been working up to this, but it seemed like when I turned 48 this year, it got worse about me not being able to sit there and watch a movie without at least one or two times trying to doze off. It doesn't matter how interesting the film is. Okay, so uh, I just want to remind everybody to keep watch on the site. I keep saying site for on the channel, to see all the programming that I'm going to have coming up. I'm trying to put more programming out there. I apologize that, the last 2 weeks or so, it's been kind of sporadic when I have some content, I'm going to get more consistent with it or try to get more consistent with it. Also, be sure to visit deaditesondeck.com, my horror shop, for some. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some new items up, including in November, some holiday themed horror shirts. And if I can get my act together, some Christmas a Christmas card set that you will be able to purchase. So you can start your Christmas shopping a little early at deaditesondeck.com. All right, so let's get to these movies. I don't have anybody on here with me tonight. Um, I I really didn't ask anybody because I wasn't sure if they would be familiar with these two movies. Now, next week may start the ones that people may be more familiar with as far as Kubrick is concerned, because next week will be Spartacus and Lolita. Hey, TJ. I'm guessing this is a different TJ than TJ Frizzy. But welcome. I appreciate you coming in tonight. Um, and then we're slowly going to start getting into things like Doctor Strangelove, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, which, believe it or not, I've never seen Barry Lyndon. The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut, all of those are coming up shortly. Oh, well, I'm glad that the algorithms are working, TJ. But I hope you enjoy your stay here, and I hope that you like some of the other content if you want to check out some of the other content on the channel. All right, so let's start talking about The Killing from 1956. Um, I saw some parallels between The Killing and Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. Now, I know that Quentin Tarantino has seen a lot of movies, a whole lot of movies. And he may very well have seen The Killing. This stars Sterling Hayden. And the main guy is a guy named Johnny Clay. And Johnny Clay assembles a 5-man team to plan and execute a daring racetrack robbery. I mean, that's the basic plot of this. So already right there reminds me of Reservoir Dogs. Because there is a scene where Johnny Clay is telling the other guys that he does know that, hey, we're going to have a couple of other guys that you guys don't know. And, they're not going to know their names or anything. So automatically that reminded me of Reservoir Dogs, where all of the guys, not just a couple, but all of the guys went by, colors. Mr. Pink, Mr. Brown, Mr. Blue, even Mr. Blonde, Michael Madsen's character in Reservoir Dogs. Now, this was a film from 1956. It was black and white. That doesn't mean they can't show blood, and there was some blood. However, this was not nearly as bloody or violent as Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. But it had that basic skeleton of, I could definitely see Tarantino watching The Killing and thinking, hey, I could modernize this a little bit. And I could, expand on it a little bit, make it more violent, have more cursing in it, have the F word a bunch of times in it, And I'm not putting down Tarantino. I love Reservoir Dogs. I really do. TJ, you say you're from India at 6:22 in the morning. Wow. I hope you got some sleep, though. I wasn't sure what time it was in India. So, for people that are sensitive to like bad things happening to animals, a horse does get shot on the racetrack. I mean, we know that's not real, but I know some people, including myself, it was kind of hard to watch that. But I love the setup of this film, the way that the guys didn't really trust each other. And in that way, it was like Reservoir Dogs too, because several of those guys didn't trust each other. And when the shit hit the fan on Reservoir Dogs, they were fighting amongst each other and all of that and blaming each other for different things and calling each other rats. We got a rat in here, somebody, gave away our hideout or knew what we were going to do. And in Reservoir Dogs, we know um, that one of them is essentially a rat or a mole or whatever you want to call him. He's a cop, and he's infiltrated this group in order to try to bring them down. But I think over time, he developed a kinship with many of the other guys, including Harvey Keitel's character. Um, but the killing is like what I feel is like a baseline for films like Reservoir Dogs, which would be far in the future. But I really like the setup. I like the characters in this. Some people may find it a little weak in the plot department, possibly. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was not a very long movie. I think it was about an hour 24, an hour 25. And it has, like we have some mob guys getting involved, and it's just a not a bad cluster, but just a cluster of different entities coming together to try to pull this heist off, and it doesn't really end well for any of the guys. I'll just say that in one way or the other. Um, the best laid plans, right? Um, so um, I am not going to give this one 5 deadites out of 5. However, I think that this is fully worthy of 4 deadites out of 5. It is definitely worth a watch. You can catch both of these movies that I'm talking about tonight on Tubi. So there's one way that you can watch both of the films right now. So moving on to the one that really struck a chord with me tonight, and that was Paths of Glory from 1957, starring Kirk Douglas. Man, guys and gals, I was astounded at this. And both of the movies I'm talking about tonight were based on novels. So what Paths of Glory essentially is about a colonel, played by Kirk Douglas, defends 3 of his soldiers in a court martial after they abandon a suicidal attack. And what I mean by suicidal attack is it is an attack that these guys cannot possibly win, but their superiors are forcing them to do this. They're forcing them to take the anthill, as they call it. And this is supposed to take place during World War One. And of course, they're fighting the Germans. And it's just really, it's a hard movie to watch. Because even though you know that these guys did not really perish, right? It's still hard to watch. A lot of war movies are hard for me to watch, and there are a lot of very good war movies out there that I I don't want to say I enjoy, but that I can get engrossed in, right? And this was definitely no exception. But what really struck a chord with me was the unfairness of it. Here, Kirk Douglas, as the colonel, was trying to protect the guys that were underneath him, his his team, or whatever you want to call it. And they were being forced by this hateful, vengeful superior who knew that there were going to be a lot of men that died. In fact, he said, yeah, I know a lot of men are going to die. And basically, I don't care. We're sending them into this mission. They're going to take the anthill. Um, Even if there's just one man or no man left, I will have my victory. And he's not the one out there fighting this battle either, which really made me angry. You know, you've got a guy who essentially is a coward, but he doesn't have any problem sending troops out to die for nothing, basically. And this has been described as Stanley Kubrick's anti-war film. And it's probably one of the earliest anti-war films. I would even say Full Metal Jacket, which came later and which I'm going to talk about in succeeding weeks, is an anti-war film. It deals with Vietnam. Uh, but this one, I definitely call this an anti-war film. Nobody could tell me any different about this. But you find out later that the superior, with all his decorations and his medals and all of that, he is a coward. And he would rather have a victory at the expense of a lot of people's lives. Men who have wives and possibly children waiting back at home for them. And he just doesn't care. He's going to have his damn victory. And so the battle, they don't take the anthill, okay? And many soldiers' lives are lost. And there are three soldiers, one played by Joe Turkel or Turkel, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name, who is very young in this, but he's the guy who plays Lloyd, the bartender, in The Shining. So you will definitely, if you watch Paths of Glory, you will definitely notice, oh yeah, that's Joe Turkel right there. So he was a very sensitive character in this. Him and two others were subject to a court martial for cowardice, basically. When the ultimate coward was their superiors. That in fact, the one guy is the biggest coward of them all. And then you have one guy who basically turns his back on two other soldiers. And Kirk Douglas's character knows this. And he gives him the job of ordering these three men to be shot when they are found guilty of cowardice. I think they say cowardice in the face of the enemy. And that's what struck a chord with me. That's what really struck a chord with me, was the whole unfairness of the whole court martial. And I kept hoping that these guys' lives would be saved. Spoiler alert, they don't get saved. But Kirk Douglas's character does kind of get revenge for the guys who lost their lives. And I'm not gonna lie, the scene where they are put in front of a firing squad is not easy to watch. I kept thinking, somebody's going to save them. Somebody's going to save them. No, nobody ended up saving them. But in the end, I think that Kirk Douglas's character triumphed um, in the end. And but the unfairness in this movie translates a lot to me about unfairness in our own lives. How people are allowed to say things about us that aren't true. I promise I'm not going to stay on my soapbox very long. um, but I think almost all of us have run into this at one time in our lives or another. People spreading misinformation about us and then leaving us in a position where we are unable to defend ourselves, basically. And I felt that this is what happened to the three men who were court martialed and then put in front of a firing squad. Although in our lives, hopefully, it's not that extreme. But the hurt that people experience at the hands of people who think, I'm going to put this person in their place when they really have no reason to do that. And then to basically, it's like the not a literal equivalent, but like a virtual equivalent of a gag order where you can't say anything, or if you do say anything, nobody will believe you because you have a group. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's two, maybe it's a group of people who are influencing things. And that was my takeaway from this. Not only was this a fantastic anti-war film, I think it was also a it may have not been, but I felt like it was Kubrick flipping off the establishment a little bit. Like, you think you can shut people up, you think you can force people into doing things. Well, here I've taken a great novel and made this great movie out of it. And I think essentially that was probably a slap in the face to the establishment, to people that had gotten too big for their britches, so to speak. So, very, very layered film. I enjoyed it on a, well, I don't think enjoy is the word because we're dealing with heavy subject matter. I respect the material. And I would actually like to read the book. I don't know if any of you guys watching this or that may watch this later have read the book Paths to Glory or Paths of Glory, but it makes me want to go out and read the book. The movie I would recommend to anybody and everybody. You may be thinking, dang, I don't want to watch some 1957 black and white movie. But please, I implore you, give this one a try. Like I said, you can also watch this one on Tubi as well. The Killing and Paths of Glory are both on Tubi. And I just highly, highly recommend both of these films, especially this one. And in fact, I have to give this my top rating of 5 Deadites out of 5 just because this movie spoke volumes to me. It literally spoke volumes. And it actually made me feel better about my own situation or situations that I've went through in the past. And so definitely check out both of these films if you can, if you get some time to check them out. And I guess that's all from me for tonight. I don't want to go on too long because, like I say, when I'm on here by myself, I will start to ramble after a while. But I hope TJ, my dear husband, anybody else that was watching that maybe wasn't in the chat, I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope that you have gotten something out of it. I hope that it makes you want to seek out these movies and watch them on your own, or even seek out the novels that they're based on as well. And I will be back next Thursday, and we'll be talking about Spartacus from 1960 and Lolita from 1962. It is Friday tomorrow, so we're edging towards that weekend. So you guys and gals have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. Let's get to the weekend, so we can get some rest or have some fun, or a little bit of both, whatever we want to do. But I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic night, folks, and I'll see everybody next time.